honestly, though, I've gotten, I don't know how you're partying, but I've gotten too old for like the Thanksgiving partying because I get such bad hangovers nowadays that I just ruin Thanksgiving for me and everybody else around me because I can't eat and I'd rather just lay on the ground and sleep and not move from the floor in front of the screen. I don't know how I could do that anymore.
Here's my Thanksgiving hot take. What you do is you drink like crazy on Wednesday. It's one of the biggest drinking days of the year. You drink like crazy.
Like on Wednesday.
And here's the thing. Thanksgiving meal, day of, super overrated. Leftovers, so much better. You don't need to drink. You can sit there and be hungover, then you can enjoy that shit on Friday. Let's just get loaded right now, because this is the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first, because we finish last.
DJ, this is our fantasy football podcast, but what the hell just happened when you opened your beer? Did you open like 6 beers at a time? That was intense.
No, what did it sound like? I just opened a bottle and I didn't think it even came through, and then it like pounded on the table.
We're recording this on Tuesday night, and you're going to sit there and tell me the day before Thanksgiving, one of the top 5 drinking days of the year. I made it loud and clear. I made it loud and clear in my side piece article this last week that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is one of the days you need to drink. And you're basically telling me you're going to punt on it? We're the Loaded Box Podcast, DJ.
Top 5? It's number 1 drinking day of the year, especially. But when you get to like 32 years old, it's, you have to actually hang out with children, your child the next day, things like that. It's like, I'm going to have some drinks for sure, 100% by myself, like the lonely alcoholic I am. But I'm not going out and getting just shit can wasted.
So you're telling me that next Thanksgiving is going to be a different ball game for me? Like, I'm going to be like, no way, I'm not drinking that much on Wednesday.
Absolutely, and I know you're a puss, so you will not drink at all.
It might take me a year to learn, though. I'm a live and learn kind of guy. I don't take advice, I live and learn.
I don't know. I think you'll figure it out immediately.
DJ, this is a great week. Not only because it's a short week because of Thanksgiving, but it's literally the week, if you do your playoffs right, it's the week before your fantasy football playoffs start. So we have a few extra listener questions that we're going to be getting to. We're going to do our normal daily fantasy stacks, bargains, must use, must avoid, general advice guys. So yeah, DJ, how we always start this podcast, we let you talk about your bargain quarterback. Are you still going bargains this week? You switching it up? What's your plan?
I always love to give the people somebody. You ask the questions. I try to give a couple of positions that I think are cheap and affordable to plug into your lineup. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Well, let's hear your bargain quarterback for NFL Week 13.
It's crazy how slowly the quarterbacks they wind down if they're good, and it's like 7,200 still, and then all of a sudden it's like you get to like 6,800, and the quarterback's the worst quarterback of all time.
Yep, you got like backups that are the same price as some of those guys.
You can't go below like 7,200 in FanDuel anymore because like they just
right.
It's a clear like division between like. I don't know where it stops, and I haven't done that. Maybe I'll do the research.
No, I'll tell you right now where it stops because I know who your guy is. After your guy, it's Kyle Allen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Duck Hodgkins, Brandon Allen, guys that you're not going to use. You literally hit the point. You hit the point. I
had to.
You have the cheapest guy that you can use this week.
I had to, and I could not do this. I have Derek Carr, 7,200. He is going to going up against the Chiefs. Now, if you do your research, your argument's going to be like, oh, he only had 11 points against the Chiefs in the last matchup. So, my argument that their defense isn't good can be, argued this way. And he had a terrible week. I don't know what the fuck happened last week.
Yeah, that's your argument against it is he got benched last week.
Not benched, just taken out. Aaron Rodgers then got benched, but he just got taken out of the game.
Fair enough.
And it just was pointless. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The Jets are. I don't know what the Jets are right now, but I love it because Sammy Darnold's my guy. But I expect a bounce back from that performance with how well Derek Carr's been playing all year. You think he's just going to be bad all of a sudden every week because of the Chiefs matchup and the last week's game? I don't think so. Chiefs are bad. They're going to put everybody they have, all their focus on defense. Who's it going to go towards? Who's their best player on offense?
It's going to Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs, where they can't stop the run anyway.
They can't stop the run, yeah.
Still going to dominate either way. but that's going to give him more opportunity to run that play action, throw it to Darren Waller, Tyrell Williams, whoever, Renfro, who's now his like top wide receiver at this point.
He also has
I
a
love
punctured
Derek
lung,
Carr.
though, now.
What?
He also has a punctured lung, though, now.
Whatever. I love Derek Carr, 7,200. That's easy. I got to that 7,200. He was the last one I could pick, and I was like, well, I actually do like this one. It's the Chiefs defense. Who's going to score a lot of points? The Chiefs. Who's going to have to try to score a lot of points? The Raiders. So it's going to be back and forth.
What do I tell you every week I want out of my quarterback?
20 points.
I want 20 points. And Derek Carr has been doing that pretty consistently up to last week, where he did get pulled against the Jets. 5 points. Like, we all thought he was going to have a little bit more than that. We thought it'd be a bit of a back and forth game. It was not. I get it. I agree with you that the breaking point this week, if you're looking for the bargain, this is as far down as you can go on the FanDuel main slate Sunday only. This is as far down as you can go. But what I always tell you as well is when you have the pick of the litter, I like the bargain sometimes, and I know that's what you're going for here. When I can pick anyone, I hate having to take the chance at the position where you literally get the one guy. That'd be my beef with Derek Carr. I did say that he's been fairly consistent the last 4 or 5 weeks leading up to that. It's just not quite been enough. Like, I just don't know if I can get quite on that one right now. I don't have a pinpoint thing as to why I'm not totally on it. I think my biggest reason why I'd be against it is because I think there's a couple of other guys that you can use that you're going to pay a little bit more for.
I didn't use Baker Mayfield after plugging him into my lineup, and I moved it around. I had like $500 left. So, you know what? I was like, you know what? I've got $500 left. Maybe I'll go up on a quarterback a little bit. The dumb brain thinking. Like, I wanted Baker Mayfield. Yeah. I have $100. So let's spend a little bit more money. I'm so angry. I'm stabbing my bottle cap right now. And you should know just by my reaction with how pissed I am. Guess what quarterback? One guess you have. I'm so angry right now. Guess what quarterback I picked?
Did you Wentz there?
No.
Oh.
No quarterback I hate worse than this quarterback in the league.
Oh, you went with Matt Ryan.
I played Matt fucking Ryan.
Who also got pulled.
Who I bet on. I just can't even do it anymore.
I love it. Man, my theory this week when I look at the quarterbacks is if I have the money and if I like enough other bargains that you're going to tell me about, that's coming up here, I actually would go with someone like Mahomes. Like, I want to use an expensive quarterback this week. I don't like a lot of the mid-range guys. Not a huge fan of them. But you did talk a little bit about Sam Darnold, so I do want to bring him up right now. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my thing with Sam Darnold, though. I don't like playing outside in Cincinnati. Now that we've seen weather become a bit of an issue in these games, I feel like it's also that time of the year. And the Jets, they've looked okay the last couple of weeks. Man, they just seem like they are due for a letdown. And I personally have been riding like that Jets Darnold wave, and it's been really good for me. I just feel this is the classic letdown.
Nope.
Are you on the Darnold train this week?
Oh, yeah, I love Sam Darnold. Every week now. He's just so confident. He's going out and getting hammered, kissing more titties. He can't get mono anymore. He's feeling himself at this point. He's in the groove. Darnold's what I thought he was at the beginning of this year, and now you're starting to see it. I love him because I thought that was going to happen last week or whatever when they started like winning their first game, and now I just see it. I don't think it's going to fall off. I think he's actually in the zone at this point.
Okay, well, here's another mid-range guy for you that's around that same price range where we saw Derek Carr. Do you think Ryan Tannehill on FanDuel, 7,300 at the Colts, is he going to make it 6 straight games over 19 fantasy points? His last 5 weeks, 20 points, 19, 25, 19, and 32 last week. Now he gets the Colts. Colts are 15th against the pass. You were giving me a little shit earlier in this week as a Dolphins fan. Like, hey, do you realize you let go of Ryan Tannehill maybe 1 year too early after holding on to him for 7 years? I don't want to get into that debate. I want to get into the Ryan Tannehill debate for this week only. Are you comfortable using him at 7,300 this week?
I've decided that in any fantasy league from now on, when it comes to quarterbacks, if I'm going cheap, I'm going for a guy like Kyler Murray. Like I'm going against all my instincts from now, like my quarterback instincts, and stopping thinking like the actual football player, and I'm going for the guys that can run or have the ability to run. So Ryan Tannehill brings Ryan Tannehill's name should be Tyler. He looks more like a Tyler.
He does look like a Tyler. I could get behind that.
I'm changing his name to Tyler Tannehill.
Tyler Tannehill moving forward.
All right, so Tyler Tannehill. I tell you what, he has just enough. Like he runs, he can run the ball. He was a wide receiver in college. Everybody knows that. Just like everybody knows Julian Edelman played lacrosse.
Yep.
He can throw the ball and played quarterback as well. But Tannehill has the ability to run the ball. In that factor, he runs it well. Is smart enough to where it's effective, and he's running for touchdowns and maybe 30 yards a game or whatever it is. But those points are always nice to have. And when you run it in and get that 6-point touchdown, that's so nice. Like a 6-point touchdown on a quarterback is one of the best feeling things there is.
Absolutely.
Did your quarterback,
especially when it's Tyler Tannehill?
What? Yeah, Tyler Tannehill. Who was your quarterback playing against me in the fantasy this last week?
I'll have to come back to that.
I thought your quarterback ran one in, and I was super pissed at one point. But it's a great feeling being on one end of it, and a bad feeling being on the other.
Oh, it was Jacoby Brissett.
Was it?
Yeah.
And he ran one in.
Yeah, early, and then he did nothing.
Yeah, then he did nothing. But that's a great feeling. I'm like, fuck this guy, because he just got 6 points when I'd rather have the 4. Like that 2 points is always, it feels so big in fantasy. So he is effective. I do like him that
realm
look of it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. The thing about Tannehill too is, man, the dude's fearless. Like, he has taken so many big hits. He's just gotten crushed behind a shitty Dolphins line for 7 years. He's gone to Tennessee, and it's been a little bit better, but I've seen him kind of just sit in the pocket. He still has no pocket awareness. That's kind of been his downfall all this time. But yeah, when he takes off and just decides to run, I think it was his long touchdown run where he was going towards the end zone. He had a full head of steam, like he was just going, and he decides to just propel his body up in the air and then dives. It's kind of like a dive jump. I don't know how else to describe it. Real weird though. And it just worked because you're not going to be able to push a guy backwards when he does that. But he doesn't care. Like, he's going to throw his body out there. He's going to do everything for you. And I just don't know if I want to trust him with my fantasy team. In like a redraft league right now, in a not a must win, but like I'm playing for seeding right now in a playoffs. I'm kind of considering him this week, even in a redraft league. It feels weird to consider Ryan Tannehill when you're talking about fantasy football.
That jump does not beat the Mississippi State quarterback jump of the year, though. Like, that flipping helicopter one was the best play of a jumping. I mean, he didn't even get the first down. It was fourth down. His life is flashing before his eyes. He's sick. Do you remember that helicopter that picked up that old lady off a mountain, and the lady was just spinning around at like 1,000,000 miles per hour?
No, but I think that we need to attach like a GIF or a video of that to this tweet. I was just
gonna say, you know what we need to? I wish I had editing abilities, because I need to take that Mississippi State quarterback,
put him in there,
of him running, getting hit, and as he's flipping, switching it to the helicopter, flipping that girl around.
That'd be fantastic.
Oh my God, I need to write this down, because I need to send this to somebody to do it for me.
I say take a course during Thanksgiving break here.
That's the best thing ever.
Let's talk a little bit about running backs. You're going bargain. Who's your bargain running back of the week?
All right, I'm going back to the well. This is my boy all year. I've played him, and he hasn't done much, a lot, and when I haven't, it's been the games that he scored long touchdowns. Miles Sanders, I'm going back 2 weeks in a row, 5,800 versus your Miami Dolphins.
Correct.
Like I said, I'm going back to Miles. What gives him a little bit more value to me, and I feel comfortable with this pick, is because obviously he's been kind of the main guy with Jordan Howard out. J.J. played a little bit, but he was still getting a majority of the carries. But he also brings value because in a half-point PPR, would like getting 1 point more PPR, but he has at least 3 receptions in 5 of the last games, at least. So you're getting value out of the passing game. He should have had a touchdown last week. I don't know if you saw that Carson Wentz throw to Miles Sanders when he was wide open. Did you see that or no?
I did. People were blaming it on the wind.
No.
It was like a 3-yard pass.
Nobody can blame it on the wind. The guy was 3 yards away from him.
I did laugh at that.
He went 15 yards over his head. I'm not even exaggerating. There is only like hurricane conditions that could make a football do that, and not even that within 5 yards.
And people think Wentz is a little dinged up.
That again, he's throwing left-handed. It was literally a 3-yard like shovel. He could have underhanded it.
And they think that might have been a kicking ball.
Yeah, okay. That might have been. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. I was so frustrated by that throw. I was like, maybe he should retire after that because I was that embarrassed for him. Like I said,
go ahead.
Okay. Howard may be back, which would limit his carries, but honestly, he's too versatile for me to worry about that. And if they were playing a team like the Patriots or Ravens or whoever it was, yeah, I'd be a little more scared. I wouldn't do that. But he's playing against the Miami Dolphins, and there's no better time for a running back to score a long touchdown in the pass, or even on like one of his 10 or 9 or 10 carries, could easily bust 1 or 2 for over 20 and one that goes long for a touchdown.
Yeah, the nice thing, like you said, the last 3 weeks he's seen the double-digit carries. It just really hasn't turned into much fantasy-wise. 9 points, 5 points, 10 points. It's nothing. I mean, it kind of kill you, but it ain't going to, like, boom week for you or anything. You look at the week before that, he had 21, but he had a huge long touchdown in that game. Crazy thing about him, too, just in general, the Eagles, look at the rushing defenses they've gone against recently. Yep. Seattle was 23rd. Before that, New England was 2nd. The Bears were 4th. The Bills were 3rd. The Cowboys were 6th. Like, they've had a freaking gauntlet schedule for running backs. So, like you said, yeah, this is the week to get right. You're going to do it. You're going to do it against the Dolphins and their run defense. I'm just so sick of Miles Sanders because I think you've talked about him for about 3 weeks now, and he's combined to score less than 30 fantasy points. At a certain point, I just get sick of guys, and at 5,800, man, I don't know that you're going to do much better. But, God, it just boils down to me this entire week that I have the pick of the litter, DJ. I can't get behind some of these guys.
You don't have the pick of a litter. You have a limited pick, literally a limited pick.
A little bit, because if you're playing the main slate, you don't have the Thanksgiving guy, so that's 6 teams or the Monday night game.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, I guess I need more time to digest that one. Let's talk about not a super expensive option, but a guy that's a little bit more. Saquon Barkley. Are you thinking that it might be time to use him? Maybe it's time for a breakout week. He's 7,600 on FanDuel. Let me rattle off a little numbers here first, and then you can talk. 7,600 versus the Packers, 26th ranked run defense. Last 3 games, he's went against the 6th, 8th, and 4th best run defenses. He didn't top 13 fantasy points in any of those games. The dude has 3 total touchdowns all season. Against your Packers, though, and they're kind of bend but don't break run defense, that can be had run defense. Is this the week to use him when he's only 7,600?
I mean, the Packers played well until the whole. See, you have to look at the Packers and that game. They played really well, good run defense up until the point where you're just tired because your offense isn't moving the ball, and your punter is punting the ball to the opponent's 40 at the best. So
what happened there? I thought that guy was supposed to be good.
Trust me, that's one of my biggest reasons why. Obviously, there's lots of reasons why I lost that game. That hurt because their defense was playing well when they were actually putting Jimmy Garoppolo back. I don't know. It doesn't seem like lately he can punt when there's any pressure coming in his. Like he rushes his punt when there's somebody coming towards him, and I think they need to fix that somehow.
And that concludes our punting talk for the season. Go on.
Yeah. So what were we even talking about now?
Saquon, Packers, collision course.
So no, I don't like that because number one, I think the Packers, they're playing the worst defense in the NFL. They just came off a loss. They're going to win their next 5 games, and it's going to start right here with the Giants, where they go off for. I mean, they're going to score 30 plus points because number one, they want to get this offense feeling confident and feeling good. So even once they go ahead 28-3 or whatever the score is at one point, 31-7, they're going to keep going. Like they're not going to stop because they still got to work on things. They got to figure out their wide receiver situation. Saquon Barkley, I don't know that he will be much of a factor. That really worries me this game once they're down 100.
It's crazy, though. If you'd have told me, like, at week 13 in the NFL, FanDuel, Saquon Barkley is going to be $7,600, I would have asked, well, what the hell happened this year? Why is he not Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey? Why is he not in that in that price range. And it kind of boils back to, man, especially in redraft, if you're going to take someone with the first pick overall, pick the guy on the good team. I was harping on you, the listeners, everyone, all offseason. Saquon's number one. Saquon's number one. I said, no, you take Christian McCaffrey. You take Alvin Kamara. You take one of those guys. Like, a fantasy guy is only going to do so well when he's the main player on a team. And the Giants were not a team that ever projected to score a lot of points this year. And we see it with fantasy. Like, Saquon's having a down year. 3 touchdowns out of a guy that was like almost the consensus number one. You can't do it. It's a life lesson. Take that into next year. My only thing would be My only thing with Saquon this week would be, and I don't know if you can argue that. Go ahead. Why would you say no to that?
Don't listen to Ben here.
Only listen to me. I was the only one saying, me and old intern Mikey were the only ones saying to take Christian McCaffrey number one overall.
Couple of things. Alvin Kamara is probably like not even in the RB1 conversation this year. Right
he
now.
was hurt longer than Saquon Barkley, though.
Saquon was hurt, and he's obviously, I think he's just given up, but he was hurt, and he shouldn't have came back when he did. That's frustrating. Josh Jacobs is, I guess, in an okay offense, is one of the best running backs in the entire league, but it's not a great offense that people weren't drafting high at all. I told you all to draft him high. Who's the number 2 running back even? I haven't even paid attention to the running back ranks at this point, but I bet you it's not necessarily guys in good offenses.
Okay, it doesn't have to be the best offense. Let me rephrase that. It doesn't have to be the best offense. Carolina's offense isn't great. You can't play it on the shit offense. Don't pick the guy from the Dolphins, the Giants, the Cardinals. Like, don't pick those guys.
How do you explain the year before then and his quarterback was Eli Manning?
You might have got me a little bit there. You had me a little bit there, but that offense was at least a little somewhat consistent, wasn't it? A little better than this year. Like, no one had hopes this year. Not at all.
That's not true.
Not at all. But here's the thing. Okay, so I've been dogging on Saquon this whole time, but he's only 7,600. That's not quite bargain range, but it's not like you're breaking the bank for him. He's about the same price as Mark Ingram right now, which seems crazy to me. Mark Ingram has been just a baller this whole time. He should be those guys that are flirting with those high dollar ranges. But if you were ever going to get like value out of Saquon, it would be this week. It would be against the Packers at $7,600. It wouldn't take him a touchdown and 75 yards is going to probably take care of that return.
Can you say that name again that you just said?
Mark Ingram?
Say it again.
Mark Ingram?
Now, hold on a second. Mikey, listen really close. Who did you say that you would like to have on your team? Say it again.
Mark Ingram.
Oh, God, I just came all over Mikey's little face.
Is that off your shoulder now? Or out of your...
It felt so good. I just keep shoving it in his butt, and he just keeps taking it, trying to fight me. And I'm so happy that I'm going to tag him so hard in this podcast. It's going to be great.
Beautiful. I want to talk about a pair of teammates, both with running backs and wide receivers coming up here. Pair of running backs for the Chargers. Which one of these would you be more likely to use? They're about the same price right now. Melvin Gordon, $7,000. Austin Ekeler, $6,700. Gordon started his portion of the season, like when he came back, with 3 straight games under double-digit fantasy points. Since then, 4 straight with double-digit fantasy points. Over his last 4, he's averaged 16 points per game, so he's been a pretty usable guy. Ekeler, on the other hand, seen his carries per game go down, but he's still had 3 straight games over 11 fantasy points. In their last game against the Chiefs, 8 catches, 108 yards, and he's only been under double-digit fantasy points twice all season, even when Gordon has been back. So they've literally both been usable. If you want to use one this week, who would you side with?
Do I have a matchup?
Yes, the Chargers.
Yes, the Chargers.
Yeah, I think we even talked about this. That's why I was getting mad at you there in my head, and now I'm blanking on it. So now you put me on the spot. Why don't you sing for the audience while I look this up?
You're gonna what's the word?
Filibuster.
Filibuster. Yes.
So I have this thing with it's Denver. I'm sorry, at Denver.
Shit. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Melvin Gordon for 2 reasons. I think it's 2 reasons. I haven't decided yet as I'm going to talk.
We'll
Number
get there.
one, I like. I guess it's all run Weezen blended in together. I don't trust Phillip Rivers to be able to consistently throw the ball, and that's where Austin Ekeler kind of comes into play here. Where I know Gordon is going to run the ball, and he has the ability to catch. So, I mean, he's a good wide receiver as well, so he can be used as both. I expected Gordon to start out slow as he did when he came back, because that's what you do with a guy coming out of a holdout. You ease him back in. That's why preseason exists. So you couldn't expect him to come out and dominate right away. Like, he wasn't playable those first couple of weeks. I know that. Other people should have known that. It was kind of obvious. Now he's rolling. He's going. He's getting more carries. He can catch the ball. And Eckler's still carries it every now and then, but his main purpose is to catch the ball. So when he's on the field, that's kind of what you're watching for him for. And that Denver defense is pretty solid, although they struggled against the Bills last week. Holy shit.
Right.
But I think I just have more confidence in it's easier to run the ball and get the ball handled to you and then do more things than it is to rely on a quarterback to throw the ball to you.
Yeah, I'm so torn on this one because I like what you said about Gordon and being the guy that's like the guarantee to get the carries, because the Broncos are 21st against the run. So if you're looking at the running back that's going to get the bulk of the actual handoffs, I think Gordon's your guy. What I like here, though, is saving that extra like $300 or $400, whatever, if it gets down to that point. I honestly think you could use either of these guys and they could score between like that 10 to like 16 to 18 range. You're going to likely get that out of potentially both, but just take the pick with either. And if the money is there for you, bump it up and take Gordon. If you need to play around with the money a little bit, I think you can still use Ekeler and get a very similar return. We've seen it. The stats were right there, what we said. Even though Gordon has been back, like Ekeler is still producing, especially when they get down, especially when they need to throw the ball. The dude gets tons of targets. So honestly, I'm here to say, base it off of what you have for money available. I'm not opposed to using either of these guys this week.
My son said, "Oh, what the fuck," today.
In context.
He was just jumping around by himself playing with this thing, and he goes, "What the fuck?" I'm dead serious. And I go, "What did you say?" And he goes, "What the fuck?" Like it was just a completely normal thing to say. So that was pretty entertaining.
So it's good to know that he listens to the podcast.
Yeah, and I was like, "Where'd you learn that from?" Daycare. I'm like, you can tell me if it was dad or not. You know, daycare. Like, I feel like he's purposely not saying me, even though it was definitely for me.
Oh, I can't wait till my future daughter breaks your kid's heart.
You're having a daughter?
I'm just cheering for it in that sense.
Oh,
or boy, okay. I guess they can choose.
I would say something really vile about what my son would do to your daughter, but I'm going to just leave it. It rhymes with grape.
Thank you. You didn't just leave it, you asshole. Let's talk about your bargain wide receiver.
All right, my bargain wide receiver, and I don't know how he's this low. It's crazy to me that this guy is this low because he's been a catch machine lately, like perfect for the PPR. Jamison Crowder is only 6,300 versus blank. Apparently, I didn't put who they're playing against this week. I believe it's the Bengals.
It's the Bengals, yes.
All right. So look at
you were right. They are playing no one.
Yeah, pretty much no one. So I don't get why he's this low. In the last 3 out of his last 4 games, he has scored 15 plus points. It's actually been 16 plus points, but 15 sounded more round. And anytime somebody says like he's 8th or lower and everything, you automatically know he was 8th at that thing. I hate it. Say 10th or lower.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, I hate that. That's so dumb. So I'm gonna say 15 plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. And honestly, like I said earlier, the Jets are cooking right now, and they get to play a team that's quick. But let's not forget the better quarterback that can actually get this team to score some points is coming back this week.
That's true.
The Dolphins secondary, I mean, wow. The Jets, besides last week, have not been a great secondary and typically give up, good yards in the air and points and stuff like that. I don't know what happened last week to Derek Carr. That's what I expected Derek Carr to go off last week. I don't expect that performance to repeat. Could AJ Green magically throw up out of nowhere too to show up to help? Probably not. To help Andy Dalton out? I don't know. But I still think Dalton definitely is the better quarterback. I mean, I think we know that Dalton's a better quarterback. So they have that potential to score some points. which means Sammy Darnold is going to have to continue to score points throughout the day, which means Jamison Crowder is going to get more receptions as they go on.
The thing with Crowder too is like he's the bargain, and this is why I don't think his price goes up as high as his stats would think that it would, is because he's like the ultimate like bargain mid-range guy. He's never going to have that game where he gets 200 receiving yards or 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's not like the Mike Evans, the Chris Godwin, the Julio Jones. He doesn't have that. What he is 7 targets, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Like that's where he lives. Like that's his lane. He stays in it. Like that's what he does. And the concern is, because I was all about him. Like I've been on this Jets train, DJ. Like with daily fantasy, with betting, with using Jamison Crowder in redraft leagues, it's been going well. This last week, though, in that game against the Raiders, where they dominated, 4 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards, no touchdowns. I think Darnold might have missed him on one throw to the end zone. So there is that. However, it's like the recency thing. Like, oh God, is that gonna repeat, or is he gonna break out? Because like you said, the 3 games before that, 18, 16, and 16. Like a viable guy for $6,300. I'm in a position right now in a redraft league where I've got guys like I got guys like Tyler Lockett and Julio Jones and Kenny Galladay and Odell Beckham, and I have Jamison Crowder on the bench. And in this matchup, I want to get him in so bad. I just can't fathom playing him right now over some of those guys, even though, yeah, the stats and the history say he should score 15. So that's why in FanDuel, if you're getting him for $6,300, I don't know how you can turn it down.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, one game is going to change your mind on Jamison Crowder. That's just not.
And it can't. Anything. Exactly. That's the only thing. Yeah, so just like I said with the running back teammates, I want to talk about some wide receiver teammates, because which Buccaneers wide receiver would you be more likely to use this week? You've got Chris Godwin, he's been more expensive than Mike Evans. There's a $500 difference between the two. They're at Jacksonville. And first and foremost, fun fact, these two are the number 2 and 3 wide receivers in the NFL right now in reception yards. And I believe the only other teammates to finish a season in the top 3 are Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, and Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. And I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but for the sake of the podcast, we're going to go with it. But in regards to what they average fantasy-wise, Godwin's at 18.1, Evans is at 16.3. And rather than me just rattling off Godwin's stats, if you're listening to this right now, I want you to take a second and just look them up for yourself, because they are great, especially when you consider he's playing on a bad team, the Bucs, with a turnover-prone quarterback in Jameis Winston. One stat I will read about Godwin here. He's caught a touchdown in 6 of 11 games, including 2 touchdowns in 3 games. So the touchdowns are there, the yards are there, everything has been there for him. Here's the crazy thing about Evans. He has scored 30 or more fantasy points 3 times this year. And the only thing with him is he's been a little less consistent than Godwin. He scored under double digits in 5 of 11 games. So I'm torn on this one. I'm torn on these two every single week. I always want to use one of them, especially against the Jags. We just saw Ryan Tannehill torch the Jags. Which one of those two would you be more likely to use this week?
Just Mike Evans, because it feels like it's Mike Evans' week now that Chris Godwin went off.
But what I want you to do, when I said listeners look at his stats, look at Chris Godwin's too.
I just did.
But he's been a monster, right?
Yeah, I just was looking at him right now because I was kind of curious. It's like over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns.
Yeah. And Evans has been the one. Evans has had under double digits in 5 of 11 games. So literally half of his weeks you're going to do well and half of them you're not. But then he's the boom guy. Over 30 points 3 freaking times. But you're not even considering this one. You're just like,
well, Godwin can attribute that goodness to Mike Evans, because he's been the guy year in and year out who's continued to put up the numbers that have made it so that Godwin can finally bust out 3 years into everybody saying he's going to bust out. It's like every year for the last 3 years, everybody's like, this is Chris Godwin year, this is Chris Godwin year. And finally, everybody hit. Like, you're not unique if you said that. sweet. He is having an awesome year. But Mike Evans is still the number one wide receiver. Chris Godwin is playing up to the potential that everybody thought he could.
Right.
And now he's at the receiving end of it because Mike Evans is he's still making plays that he shouldn't be making in this league at this point. So he should just thank Mike Evans for doing that for him. And Mike Evans is going to go ahead and continue to put up some numbers as well. He's still a monster.
Yeah, I'm with you because I totally agree. A lot of people think like, well, if you take one guy away that's getting a bunch of targets, someone else is going to get a bunch. So if you take Evans away, Godwin should do excellent. I'm with you, though. You take Evans away from that team, Godwin probably doesn't have the stats that he has right now. He's going to see a lesser defender. He's going to see less double teams. Like you said, Evans is helping make Godwin. Not that Godwin can't do it on his own, but man, is there a better guy that you can have? Mike Evans, I believe, has been in the league for 6 years, 1,000 yards every single year. The touchdowns have been there for the most part. Huge games. This is another debate where I'm cool using either of them. Like, I'm legit using either of them. I don't have a huge preference. It comes down to money again. If you have the extra, I'm cool with splurging on Godwin. He feels a little bit more consistent. But man, Evans, 3 30-point fantasy weeks this year. I couldn't get over that. I've said it 3 times now. That's how much I can't get over it. Like, that's going to win you some weeks in redraft and FanDuel, whatever the hell you've got. So that's who I've got for some expensive guys. I want to look at some medium.
Wait.
What do you got?
Have you conceded the fact that I nailed Jameis Winston in this Buccaneers offense, fantasy football-wise, this year? I said like 1 million interceptions, 1 million yards, and 1 million touchdowns just because Bruce Arians, and that's exactly what he's doing. I mean, how many interceptions does this guy have? 20?
I actually am so intrigued to look this up right now. I'm pulling up Jameis Winston.
I nailed that preseason. I'm sitting here with Jameis. With the one league I have Jameis Winston and Dak Prescott on my same team, and it's so fun because I put Prescott in there, he scores 30. I put Jameis in against a good matchup, he scores 30. It's like 30 every single week. I'm
going to rattle off some numbers here. This is each number represents per week or each week, starting with last week. 2, 4, 2, 0, 2, 5. Do you think that represents his touchdowns or interceptions?
I would want his touchdowns, maybe.
That's his interceptions over the last 6 weeks.
How many do you have his total stats up right now?
I have what they give you on FanDuel, and he has 22 total touchdowns. So he does not have 1 million touchdowns. I actually remember you saying he was going to end up with 40 something. So that's not going to happen. However,
what? You don't think so?
No.
He's going to score. He's going to have over 30.
Okay, that's not 40.
He might have 40.
No, he won't. 8, 10, 15, 16. So he's got 20. He's got 20 interceptions.
What did I say? I said he'd have 1 million interceptions and 1 million touchdowns. He's going to do that.
I love it. That is so great. I was going to bring that up either this week or I think it was a week before. I was like, you were a little low on his touchdowns. But man, you nailed it. You said he was going to just throw it everywhere, and the interceptions are going to come with it.
How many? 5 weeks left?
Yeah, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 5 weeks to get 18 touchdowns. I guess it's doable.
You'll have 15 touchdowns. I honestly think you'll have 15 touchdowns.
And 30 interceptions.
Yeah. 15 more touchdowns. You're at 22. You got 30. That's still a lot of freaking touchdowns.
Yeah, that's not bad. I guess I overreacted. My apologies. Let's look at some medium-priced wide receivers. Who would your preference be? I've got 4 guys here. Preference. Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. They both play Pittsburgh.
No.
The other options are DJ Chark or DJ Moore. They're all around the same price range. DJ Chark plays the Bucs. DJ Moore plays the R words.
Oh, you're tempting me with those DJs. Obviously, I'm definitely not going to jump on the Pittsburgh train here. The Cleveland Brown train against Pittsburgh, because their defense has been so incredible this year that they have a winning record and are currently in the playoffs. Played the worst quarterback of all time in Mason Rudolph. I don't know what took them so long to play duck after. I don't know. I just don't understand what took them so long. Once he got his head squished, he should have been done anyways because he was trash before that.
Well, here's another thing. Once you've turned to a quarterback in our age that's nicknamed Duck is never going to make it. If Duck would have played in like 1940 through 1960, he would have been a baller. Nowadays, you cannot have the nickname of Duck. Sorry.
No, I'll go with DJ Chark here. That matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is just too juicy to not favor him.
So you'd be saving $400 there in FanDuel. Reroute that to like a redraft league. If those are your four options, are you really going to play DJ Chark over Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yes.
Isn't that crazy to say here?
No.
Everything?
I mean, again, fantasy, I don't even know the rankings of fantasy, but I guarantee DJ Chark is ahead of Odell Beckham this year.
And the nice thing with Chark, literally the second to last ranked pass defense, I think, in the Bucs. Not that it means
to last or last, yeah.
Not that it means everything. I mean, we didn't see Julio go off last week. Calvin Ridley had a dud until the last possession when Matt Schaub threw that ball, and Calvin Ridley was like pretending to like sit down in a chair. It was a sweet catch, but literally had nothing going for him up until then. So it's not always the matchup. That's why part of me is like, dude, Jarvis Landry's caught a touchdown in like 4 straight games. He's on a bit of a heater. Odell Beckham broke out a little bit last week. It's almost like you want to play that guy, though. That's the better talent despite the matchup.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are literally the most, think about this for a second, the most bipolar, like, opposite team of all time. They are one of the top 2, they might be the best defense against the run right now.
Yeah.
And top 2 worst against the pass. Wait, let's go to the offense. They may be one of the best passing offenses in the league, but also the worst rushing offense in the league. But we're not done. Their quarterback throws 1 million touchdowns, but he also throws 1 million interceptions. Like, they can't. They're so weird. I don't get it.
Imagine being a fan of that. You must drink a lot.
You have to drink a lot. It's like they're good at stopping what they're bad at, and they're bad at stopping what they're good at. Is there some correlation?
I also found it great last week that both of their defensive tackles scored touchdowns.
That's pretty awesome.
I think Vita Vea is like statistically the heaviest player to ever score a touchdown.
Yeah, he is. It's pretty amazing.
That's fantastic. DJ, I don't even think this next question is worth asking, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you have a bargain tight end this week?
Huh?
The exact response I had. And I don't have one either, and I do want to get to our listener questions because we have a few more this week. Here's my reaction to the tight end position in daily fantasy this week. Just keep using Ryan Griffin while he's a bargain. 5 touchdowns this year. That's basically what you need out of your tight end in fantasy anyways. If you can play him at his price, and you can afford a bunch of other good guys. So as long as Ryan Griffin is the bargain tight end, go ahead and use him. DJ, I don't want to spend a lot of time on tight end, so we're going to move right into the listener questions because it's do or die time. It's week 13. It's right before your playoffs are going to start. You got questions. DJ and myself have opinions. Not answers. We have opinions. Here's the first one. Ooh, our boy Odell Beckham versus the Steelers. This is one that needs to get done as well because we have a Thursday matchup here. Calvin Ridley versus the Saints. Who are you using between OBJ and Calvin Ridley?
Oh, fuck.
You look like you just like saw something as a baby for the first time in your life.
That's a tough one because I hate Matt Ryan and I don't like OBJ against Pittsburgh. Ugh, Calvin Ridley. I don't know. I think he just benefits more from having Julio, and maybe Matt Schaub will get in there and throw him another touchdown to ruin my overbet.
Because you know Matt Ryan's not going to do it.
Yeah.
How funny is that? Let's stick on that for a second. Because when the Falcons won those 2 games, it literally, we proved it. It was defensive led. Like, the offense didn't need to do anything. All of a sudden, the defense let down last week. Bam. We were back to seeing the old Falcons again.
Fuck the Falcons.
This one hurts me because I have both of these guys, and luckily I can, well, I don't know, maybe it's not luckily, but I'm using both of them. If you make me pick between one of these, it's going back to who's the more talented guy. I want to go down swinging with my best guys. I'm going Odell. I picked him higher. He's a guy that you target. There's a reason you had him. He came on last week, finally scored a touchdown. Granted, it was against a bad defense, but he can beat anyone.
I predicted that.
We all did, DJ. That's not a very impressive thing. A touchdown against the Dolphins. Congratulations.
Well, I just predicted it.
We all did. I'm going to go Odell. Yeah, I did. Thanks. Oh, okay, you got to get your ears open for this one, or look at the agenda. We
I'm
have
looking.
a flex play. Chris Carson,
Ugh,
Kenny Galladay, Devin Singletary, Curtis Samuel, Tyrell Williams, or Rashad Penny.
this is an impossible question to answer without fucking matchups in front of me. So I'm pulling it up. For some reason, I like Devin Singletary. I remember because I know I'm starting him in the league, and I like him. They play the Cowboys. I think they were like 18th against the rush.
Yeah,
Let's see here. Seahawks and Carson have how many are we picking here?
just one, and that's and
What?
you got
I
Carson,
only have one choice.
and you got Carson or Penny in that one.
Carson or Penny, Singletary, Samuels, Curtis, no, Tyrell Williams, no. I'm gonna go with.
You sound
I'm
confident here.
gonna go with Singletary this week. I just like that matchup against the Cowboys. I think they can run on them. Galladay's not getting any action because of Dick Skull and Carson and Penny with their split and playing the Vikings, who are just good at defense and everything. And then Samuel and Tyrell Williams really aren't considerations for me at all at this point.
The thing is with Driscoll too, I just saw on the bottom line, we're recording this Tuesday night. So as of Tuesday night, like he was either questionable or he was being held out of practice or at least limited in practice. So, and you're already a terrible matchup. Like, yeah, you have a talented player here, but you literally have no one right now that you can trust to get him the ball. So I hate that. I don't mind Singletary against the Cowboys. The thing with the Seattle running backs, let's get to Seattle right quick because they play Monday night. So it's kind of like that. Yeah, I might have a guy at the very end here. It's a must-win matchup. At least you have a chance on Monday night. But like you said, you got the Vikings who they're pretty good with everything when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. So you don't like that matchup. But then when you have the possibility of both of them, you're like, well, which freaking one do I play? Because Chris Carson has been the answer for the majority of the entire season. But guess who it was last week? Carson fumbled. Rashad Penny got the carry. He got the long touchdown. He was super fantasy relevant. So you're going to beat yourself up with that one. You don't like Tyrell Williams a little bit? I thought you might be on Tyrell.
I've liked him too much the last 2 weeks, and he dropped the wide open ball that should have went to the end zone last week, and I don't know, it just frustrated me.
So you're going to go with Singletary.
Yep.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm going to side with you on that one. I'm going to go Singletary.
I think Frank Gore got over that 1,000 yards, and that was the ononly reason they were playing him at all.
I don't even think it was 1,000 yards. I think it was just enough to pass Barry Sanders.
Not 1,000 yards passing Barry Sanders deal or whatever, but yeah. I think that was the only reason they were honestly playing him at that point, or playing him that much. Because Singletary has been the main guy essentially, but they're like, hey, let's get him past this record. But yeah, I like Singletary a lot this week.
Okay, well, speaking of Singletary, you have to sit one of these guys. 3 options here, got to sit one. David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Mark Ingram. Sit one.
This literally goes opposite of exactly what I just said.
I'm going to say Singletary.
Well, I'm saying Singletary. Yeah. Ingram, I know Ingram's matched up against San Francisco. I get it. But it doesn't matter because Lamar Jackson already proved what they can do against the Patriots defense. It's like he takes the good defense. It doesn't matter right now. He just runs all over them, and for that reason, Ingram is just getting holes because guys are just flowing towards Lamar Jackson. So I can't not play Ingram. You're stupid to not play Ingram at this point. Right. And then Montgomery plays the Detroit Lions, who are quite possibly the worst defensive line in the league. I just watched them get pushed back over and over again. So as much as I think any other defense, I wouldn't take Montgomery. The Lions, I will. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get Singletary.
I'm with you, too. If you've watched any Driscoll, uncertain for Thursday, it says. If you've watched any Bears games this year, you would. David Blowy could be starting quarterback. David Blowy, folks.
Oh, there's going to be jokes.
There are going to be too many. I don't think it's Blowy, but I'm going to call him Blowy for the sake of the podcast. Him and Tyler Tannehill would have a hell of a time together. I'm kind of with you on this one. I instantly thought, maybe you sit Ingram, but it's exactly what you said. The Ravens have become kind of matchup proof because of how obscure their offense is. You take away one thing and they're just going to come back with you with that that read option, with Lamar keeping it, with you thinking that they're going to run, but yet Lamar has a wide open Mark Andrews running down the middle of the field. They're just way too unpredictable right now, and it's making everyone on that team fantasy relevant. So you can't bench that right now. And I'm with you, man. What are the Lions going to do? Like I was trying to say, if you've seen the Bears play this year, you know that they will try to do anything to not put Mitch Trubisky in like have to win positions. Like it's going to be short passes, safe passes, and let's get the ball to our guys that are safe, like David Montgomery, like Tariq Cohen. So yeah, just matchup alone, it'd be hard not to use him this week in such a nice matchup against a depleted Lions team. So I'm with you. I think you sit Singletary. I do feel like a hypocrite, but we got to do it. Last one here, DJ. Baker Mayfield versus the Steelers. Josh Allen at the Cowboys.
Oh, Josh Allen 100% of the time here. Is that an actual listener question?
That is a question, yeah.
That's too bad. I'm not even going to, dignify that with a response besides Allen.
Coming from the guy who couldn't, hate Josh Allen more, and now you're going to say I think the Cowboys are, top 5 against the pass, aren't they? They're pretty damn good. You're just going to blatantly say, you know what, screw Baker Mayfield, the better quarterback probably. You're just going to go all in on Josh Allen here?
I don't know if he is the better quarterback anymore. I have the ability to change my opinion. I'm not this most of the time I'm a guy who sticks with it, but I'm starting to become more and more now that we're more I don't know. Now that I have to be a more unbiased analyst, and I want to be.
You don't have to be.
But I want to be. I want to be unbiased because I want to win fantasy. I want to get good advice. I'm trying to even last night I texted you. I said, "Fuck." Ravens are really good.
Yep, you did admit that. I was going to screenshot that and tag you in it in Twitter.
I'm sweating right now, honestly, talking about it because it hurts to do it because my ego is so big that I like to be right about everything. But shit, they are. And Allen right now is just he's hitting throws that I didn't know he'd be hitting this year, and he's running around like he does, and Baker Mayfield just isn't doing anything at all. He had one good game against Miami or whoever it was.
Yeah. I wanted to give you a little crap just to have a little back and forth on that one, but I'm with you. I have to go Josh Allen on this one as well. As much as I do like Baker, I think he's still going to end up being the guy from this class. I'm still holding on to that. This week, because we've seen the Pittsburgh defense, literally, it's been like Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's gotten there, and that defense has taken the next step. They've got good pass rushers with Watt and Dupree. Devin Bush has done very well. Fitzpatrick has solidified that secondary. And yeah, the Cowboys secondary is good as well, and we're not going to have to worry about weather, at least with their game this week. But the thing with Josh Allen is you always have that threat for him to get it done running as well. And you're just not going to have that with Baker Mayfield this week. It's also the rematch of Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. And maybe that's why Mason Rudolph's not playing. They don't want him to get another helmet thrown at his head.
I thought you were going to say the Super Bowl rematch with Buffalo and Dallas.
Why?
I don't know, it was the third one. Buffalo's all excited. All that stuff.
DJ, do you have any last thoughts or advice you want to give people as we enter the last week of the fantasy regular season?
I just need to go win some bets, so I need to go and hopefully win these college basketball bets tonight. Otherwise, you guys might not be hearing from me for a while.
Fair enough. Well, as always, check us out on Twitter at LoadedBox. Check out our website, loadedboxpodcast.com. We have all of our podcasts there, all of our articles, our start sits, our daily fantasy, our Sunday side piece sleepers. Everything is found there. Next episode, we'll be recording tomorrow. It's our Week 13 game by game and against the spread picks gambling preview. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, review. DJ, send us out.
Bye.